The law is quite clear. No materials of any sort shall be placed in or on any mailbox without a postal stamp affixed to that item. This is one law that is crystal clear. The last item we have is...
Excuse me, I do have a comment on that.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Well, okay, because I was going to comment on it. Go ahead, Mr. Sullivan.
By what authority do you take this upon yourself as a police chief to enforce postal regulations?
We're not enforcing it at all.
It sounds pretty much like you did.
We receive complaints on anything and everything. And what we did was we took the complaints that we received.
Did you document these complaints? I'd like to see the documentation.
You get two in the next room.
I have talked with the post office, postmaster. He has received no complaints whatsoever, and he's the governing authority for this situation.
Selectman Sullivan, I'd just like to tell you, I know of 2 complaints that he received today outside the PD, and I just think it would be, I don't want to talk about this tonight, but I think next year...
No, wait a minute, Jack. I do want to talk about it tonight.
Excuse me.
We have a police chief that is exceeding his authority by infringing upon the rights of people, and I'm not going to stand for it, Jack, no matter how you talk about it.
You're out of order, so this is what I suggest that next...
By what authority did you use flashing lights in your police badge to enforce anything today? That's what I'd like to know.
Okay, if you'd like, I'll respond to that.
And I do not need a name, I'll tell you right now.
Well, we'll keep...
So this is, excuse me, no. I'll tell you right now, no. Excuse me.
I don't mind explaining the whole situation to you.
Phil, you're out of order. I'm going to take over the meeting now. Here's the deal. This is what I'm going to recommend. This isn't an issue for this meeting. This is an investigation being done by the federal government at this point in time. I don't want to go down this road. What I would suggest, because there's been issues around signage and where it belongs, where it doesn't belong, I think it would be in the best interest of the community that next year, maybe a month or so before, or as soon as all the candidates are known, that you bring everyone in the room, invite the postmaster up, invite the town moderator up, and the Board of Selectmen, make it very clear as to what the rules are and what the rules aren't, because the rules have always been around signage a little bit. It just needs to be better understood by however the board wants to enforce those rules, the board can enforce those rules. As far as things being put on the mailbox, you know, I know of at least 2 complaints that was given to the postmaster today, and only because the residents called me and told me that they went down there.
Excuse me. I talked with the...
No. I'm telling you that two residents called me and told me that they were on their way down to the post office, and they were extremely upset. So, as far as I'm concerned, it is not the purview of this board. It is not the purview of this board to investigate. Well, excuse me. So, anyways, that's what I want to do, and because it's an investigation, I don't believe that this is the proper forum at this point in time this evening to discuss this. So, please respect my request to, you know,
Jack, I'm going to have to speak. I mean, I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Paul.
And I will leave this, but let us not forget, and I just finished reading a book by Jeff Shara about the rebellion. This country was founded by people that had a police state in this country. They had taxation without representation. They pay their taxes without representation in this room. And I think we have to respect the fact that people have their rights. And I think that we are violating them when a police chief takes it upon himself to enforce a law which is not even under his purveyance. It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry. And I apologize. I don't mean any of us to look bad, but, you know, this town of Atkinson has to start taking a little inventory of what's happening here.
What I would say to that, Paul, is that there are rules. Hang on a second, Phil, because I'm going to end this after I'm the last word here. There are rules and there are ordinances in this town, and they sit there and they should be equally enforced and equally observed by all the residents and by town officials. It's as simple as that, and the rules are very clear. Now, as far as what goes on between the post office. I am not a police expert. I don't know the relationship between the post office and the police force as far as the enforcement of rules. I do know that things that happen in the mailboxes and on the mailboxes and around the mailboxes are the purview of the postmaster. And I actually instructed residents to the postmaster when trying to find out the details around what the rules were, because I know it doesn't fall under the purview of this board. But there are, you know, we always kind of grant a little bit of latitude during political season, but once again, you know, people have different interpretations, and I just think that next year, as a matter of good practice, is that we should have a meeting a month before the election, so everyone knows the rules. Everyone knows that before you put a sign out in front of someone's house, you need to call and ask permission. We know what pieces of property are, and look, most of these people doing it for the first time, we usually cut them a little bit of latitude, and because you're excited, you're involved in an election, and I can understand the passion behind it. But with that said, I don't think that
I'll
this
stay
is
away from that, but can I ask you a
I don't think
question?
that this is the
I'd
proper
like to ask you a
forum for
question.
this discussion.
I'd like to ask you a question concerning signs.
Yep.
We had a discussion last Monday night, and I was part of it that said, let's be proactive and get the signs down. And that was on the Atkinson blog. Based upon the fact that you said you had talked with our town attorney, Sumner, and that he said that that's what we should do. And I have since, because of the fact that I was worried about this was a violation of a civil rights issue, that maybe we should reconsider. I called Sumner, or I didn't. I talked to you, and I had a discussion, of which you didn't agree with me. And and you said that Sumner agreed with you.
Paul, you know
And
what?
he called me, and he said, no way I said that.
And
No
Paul,
way, he
this is
said,
what I'm-
for us
Paul,
to stay
once
away
again-
from it and not to take the
Paul,
signs up.
Paul,
So where does this, why would a meeting even help this, Jack, if we're violating
We're not
what is right and what is
We're not
wrong?
violating anything. You're working on certain assumptions, and once again, the facts.
Well, Sumner's our attorney.
You don't have your facts straight, Paul. So this is a legal discussion, and once again, this is not the proper forum for legal discussion. So what I
No,
told,
we
what
can't
I
hide
told you is I
behind
dropped.
everything. We
I
can't
dropped-
hide behind
Paul,
everything.
Just stop it. Everyone knows that legal discussions are confidential.
We can't
and
use
that's-
non-public a reason to hide the public from what we discussed, Jack.
Whatever, Paul. Whatever. As far as I'm concerned, this discussion has ended. We're going to move on. Mr.
Chairman.
Constantino, anything
Chairman,
else?
I totally respect your authority as being the chairman of the board.
We're not going to, this is it. It's ended.
But you have to realize, you give Mr. Sullivan that one always time, one more question, Mr. Sullivan, one more question. And Mr. Sullivan
How many
just
times did he show- how
basically
long did he spend
accused
with you this week up in his
Mr. Sullivan
office?
basically just
Come on.
accused
What are you
me,
talking about?
excuse me, I think I
What are you
was,
talking about? No, excuse me. What are you referring to,
I
Paul?
don't.
Paul?
Go ahead. No, I want to hear what the chief
No,
has
Paul,
to
I
say.
asked you a question. You just made
I
a
want to hear
comment.
what
You
the
asked
chief
the
has to
question.
say. Why is it wrong for me to question this? Why is it wrong? Will somebody tell me why is it wrong?
If I was sitting there, Paul, I'd say, fine, you know, you have every right to ask every question that you want to ask. That's your prerogative, and that's the job of selectmen, is to make sure you have all the facts. But when you make a statement, you have to allow the other side to come back and rebut the statement, especially if
Please
it's not
rebut
something
it.
that's
Please, I
that's
agree
fair.
with you on that.
And basically, I'm just stating is that you came and said that you're trying to say that the police chief is running a police state, taking away people's freedom and their rights to do certain things.
Phil, I'm worried when I hear and I get a call.
Can I finish,
that there's-
please?
Okay,
Can I finish, please?
please.
When I left the post office, the postmaster turned around and handed me something that is very clear. And it says, no part of any mail receptacle may be used to deliver any matter not bearing postage, including items or matter placed upon, supported by, attached to, hung from, or inserted in the mail receptacle. Any mailable material not bearing postage and found as described above is subject to the same postage as would be paid if they were carried by mail. That's a federal law. I am a police officer to uphold the laws. I saw Mrs. Grant stuffing mailboxes.
Said, please, no names.
I pulled in back of her, and for my own protection, I put my
please
blue
don't
light